Friday and I told him that I was coming to Barcamp and I wanted to talk about our school network, because in the last few years we've really been sort of pushing forward and doing new things. And the reason I wanted to talk about networking in schools and networking in general is because in many massive corporate environments you get all sorts of things, just loads of computers all connected, and you get, maybe in some place you might get recording equipment or you might get other equipment. I don't know. In technology maybe you might get mass production and you'll have to have all the software for that. But in schools you have to do all of these things. You get obviously the boring stuff like office work and word processors and stuff, but also you've got music suites and art departments where there's graphic design which has to be taken into account. And there's also, in the technology block, we've just got a laser cutter, and we obviously need to not only have the software for it, but to be able to let the students there use it, and so on. And it's also on a massive scale. We've got 400 PCs just built into the network, all of which need to have the usual stuff for single sign-on and be able to use all the right software and deploy it properly. So in many ways it can be similar to a corporate environment. The large numbers of computers, of printers and of laptops for staff, because obviously everyone's got their own personal laptops they can then go on the internet or use presentations for. They all have to be able to work together and access everyone else's documents. And in a way, what happened 5 years ago when I was in my second year at school, it was a bit of a mess in that there were loads of different computers. Pretty much at the start of every year, the staff sort of went, right, where's the cheapest set of computers or printers or laptops? And they would spend as little money as possible in order to get a decent system going. But in the years that sort of followed there, they started subscribing to the I-fossil idea, that is the infrastructure first and other stuff later, which kind of implies that a network has to be able to support loads of stuff which may come in the future. Because if you've got a network that can support hundreds of printers or users or computers or anything like that, then you are definitely future-proof and you can always go on with whatever new technologies come out in the next few years and make them work. And of course you also have to have a lot of users, because there are around 100 students in every year. It's starting to get bigger as we're getting bigger, and all of those not only have to have a username and a password and a home directory, but you also need to have their home information. You need to know where they live, and as a requirement you also need to know their parents' information, emergency contact details, any medical information, and that's a massive amount of data that you need to be able to store in a way that you can get to in an emergency, but also restrict so only certain people can get to it, which I think is something that's definitely something you can't do on a cheap-ass basis. You do have to think about supporting the large numbers. In terms of the actual network, you obviously have to have things like a DHCP server that can support a lot of computers and give everyone access to each other. You also need a proxy server and a fast internet connection, so people get the internet, not at some ridiculously slow speed, but at a speed where they can do their work and get it out of the way. Obviously I talked about single sign-on, but that means they can get to their files in school. There are a lot of people now, and in fact the majority of people in my school have access to a computer at home, and so they can do homework and research at home, and they have to bring it into school. Now, until 2 years ago, the main way people would do that was a CD or a RAM stick, or a memory stick, or whatever you want to call it. But then, back in January, a couple of years ago, conflict hit, and that hit Trafford very hard. Our network was down for about 2 weeks. And it was because someone had brought in a memory stick from home which had config on it, and it spread across the network, and it took ages to get it all back. So now they've set up a new system called the Engine, and essentially that allows you to access your home directory from home and upload stuff, download stuff, work on it and everything. But also the government had brought in some regulations a while ago which meant every school should have access to some form of a VLE, which is a virtual learning environment. So students have to be able to access learning resources. The Engine, as it is, which is built on Office SharePoint, allows staff first of all to upload their lesson presentations or resources, and it allows the students to then go to them, download them, and find any extra support that they need. I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of what the Engine looks like now, because it's accessible from anywhere so long as you have your network details with you. So if I get to you, This is my school website. I'm from Altrincham Grammar School for Boys, I don't know if I mentioned. But yeah, this is the engine, and you just log in with your usual network details. And that should take me to the site. And here you can see it's got just a list of things teachers can stick up daily notices and so on, which get read out in registrations, and you also get access to whenever you want to go to it. Now, the main feature, or the first feature that was really properly accessible, was the home directory thing, where if I go on here, I get a list of all the stuff I've got in my home directory, which I can then download, work on at home, and re-upload, so I can use it again in school. There's also lots of other stuff, such as, when I get to it, where teachers can upload their lesson resources. And there's quite a few presentations and so on that teachers have uploaded after having created, which people can then use. Naturally, the IT department use this the most, and if I go to IT and computing, there's a lot of work there that's been uploaded, and people also use it for setting homeworks and stuff, or cover work. A lot of the time, teachers can be off on courses for whatever they happen to be teaching or anything like that, and they can't be in the lesson. And previously, they would have to leave a note with whatever member of staff might end up covering them, and just say, get them to do questions 4 to 5 in the textbook. And that isn't, by any stretch of the imagination, a good way to learn. So now it's becoming possible for them to upload the work that they would have taught, and have the cover teacher either go through it and just show them what they have to do, or just let the students get on with it. Because while in some schools there can be a problem with not having the work done on time, and you can pick cover lessons for people, and they might just mess around for the lesson and finish it off for homework. With this system, it's possible to set the work in the lesson and say, right, this lesson you're going to finish off whatever this PowerPoint says and answer the questions, and upload them to the engine when you're done. And the staff can then see what they've done, and whether they did it on time, or whether it had to stretch for a lesson after that. And it looks like it may be slow, which is would only be today really that happened. But if I can get it up later, I'll show you. Another thing that took place more commonly was, as I mentioned before, the infrastructure was based on a particular set of hardware. You can see here, this is one of our IT rooms, and it looks very flash, and indeed it is very flash. But all of these machines here are based on a HP system, and our school has some form of a contract with HP, that whenever we buy anything, we'll use them as our preferred supplier. All of these machines in this room are HP, and I actually don't know where the desks came from. But they sort of prove the point that computing in general isn't just the subject where you sit down at a desk, type for an hour, and then log off, because there is a lot of theory in it as well. And this obviously allows people to sit in the middle of the room and do whatever work they need to do, and do it theory-based as well as the actual thing. That's just a view from the other side, and you can see we've got an interactive whiteboard, which obviously, while at first sight may appear to be a bit of a waste of money, but it allows the students to get up and take part in the lesson, especially when you've got quizzes or crosswords or something like that. It allows students to not just have to sit at it or to do it on their own, they can actually take part as a group. And there's also a TV up there. I'm yet to find a good reason for that other than watching The Apprentice on a Thursday morning. Yeah?
I was wondering, do you use interactive whiteboards in all your lessons, and like across like different subjects, and also whether or not you save the lessons through the interactive whiteboard onto your intranet for students to use later?
Yeah, well, interactive whiteboards, the interactivity isn't used so much. For me, I'm in my second year of A-levels now, so a lot of the work we're doing is theory, so I don't see it as being as much fun going up on the crossword. But for the low years, in particular, it's a lot more engaging for them, and they do make use in loads of subjects, not just IT. In languages, there is a lot of use there. In physics as well, it's taken off massively there, because they can, as opposed to sticking an equation up on the board and a diagram and saying, that's how you do that, the teachers can get up and they can do the working and show everyone how to get to that stage.
Yeah, I work in B2C learning, and we now all the media content that we create, we try and make it compatible for interactive whiteboards.
Mm-hmm.
So things like games and quizzes, so that it's easier for people to select things using the interactive whiteboard, buttons at certain sizes and that kind of stuff.
Can I just say that's really appreciated by the schools, because there was something the other day, English lesson on apostrophes and punctuation and that kind of thing. And there was a game, and they all took part in it as a class, and they really liked that. Pat on the back.
Just read on BBC Skills Wise as well. Check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to say I do have a lot of experience in using the BBC resources, because it's one of the resources that's used across various subjects as well. Because it allows for a sort of standardised look and feel to particular things that you don't get when Mr. Blogs from physics and Mrs. whoever from whatever other subjects do their work. Yeah, another thing that we've got down here is, this is S5, as it's called by its friends. It used to be a maths room, but we got a new maths block built, so we put this in. It looks nearly exactly the same sort of setup as it is on the other slide, but in fact it's not. This uses these thin clients, as they're called. They don't have a hard drive, they don't have an awful lot of things like a CD drive that a normal computer would have. They're around 120 to 150 pounds, which is a considerable saving. And the way they essentially work is, you've got a server running Microsoft Windows, hooray, and these connect by RDP to what is a virtual machine on the server, which then allows people to work as they normally would on any other machine. But this has massive advantages. I can log in from home to the school network and use the programs that are installed there, and I'll give you another fantastic demo of that right now. When I start it up. Yeah, I'm just using Terminal Server Client because that comes with it, but all the features for everything on Windows, which the vast majority of home users has, is normal, and it's just there. So when it loads, oh, an error has occurred. Oh, that's a
You
problem.
haven't got much bandwidth. You don't happen to know the implementation of thin client you got over there?
It's running Microsoft Infrastructure Server, it's called, yeah, other than that, I'm not familiar on the details. It's only been installed this year. I will try and get that running, because I had it working a while ago, and if it pops up, I'll bring it up, try and get it towards the end. But it allows me and everyone else to log in from home, use the programs that people wouldn't have at home. Like, a lot of people don't have stuff for, like Photoshop, for example. In art and design, that's one of the main pieces of software that gets used, and people don't want to pay £60 or £70 for a license for it, and so being able to use it on a site license.
Those clients are going to pay for a license for it.
Well,
You can't just pay one license for Adobe Photoshop.
It's
put it on your thin
it
client
is a site license. It's a site-wide license, and it's all covered by.
It's Landway who do this sort of thing. They're based in Burnley, offering these solutions. We're pitching a thin client solution to some big people up Scotland somewhere, and it was all great, and they said, right, it's going to spit Windows out. We have got the Windows license, we're not paying this per seat, and that was the end of that contract.
Yeah.
So, or you can't, like, the fact they've got it, you should bear in mind, you can't just put a copy of Photoshop on your thin client server, get all the thin clients come on, you're only paying for one license, not whatever.
Yeah, it
goes towards seat licensing then, so you're still paying for your license. You're not just paying for one copy, you're paying for
you've got, and your
X hundred users
your
to
thin
use
client
it.
server should be able to say, I will only allow access to so many clients per time.
Yeah,
and that is built in.
There tend to be special licenses available for schools as well, for educational purposes. Most software companies like Adobe have special licenses because they are aware of the limitations that schools face and also the limited budgets.
Yeah, you do get a notice when you start up whatever Adobe software, and there are a couple of other pieces of software as well, that it starts up, and as opposed to saying Adobe Photoshop, it says Adobe Photoshop for Education, and it says that for Dreamweaver and everything else. And there is a maximum limit of sessions of it that can be open at any one time. Yeah, so if I just bring that back up again. Yeah, this is another room, which is, if you imagine this was the old S5, it got split in half here, and you've got the thin client room on one side, and on the other room you've got these things using shuttles, and they look fairly similar. They've still got pushy up and down desks, but that's these boxes here that you can see are the ones they had. We got these a while ago, and they're all right for what they do. They're designed to be more of a home media thing, and we've got the lower on the range. But obviously now having a sort of fixed contract with a particular person means that you get a consistency that you wouldn't otherwise get when you're using loads of different platforms, and I think that really helps because it gives students, particularly in the lower years who have not as much experiences with computing as they will have by the end of it, gives them a sort of familiar look and feel wherever they are. Yeah, this is in the tech box. Again, you'll see we're using HP machines, but these all have support for programming electronic circuits and stuff like that, as well as a couple of them in another room which work with the laser cutter. And I think that should be... Oh no, this is the music suite. How can I forget? Macs in here, lots of Macs. Where the money came from, I have no idea. But apparently it's there, and all these Macs are on... they're on their own network at the moment, but I believe the school are looking into getting a Mac server, so eventually that will incorporate with the single sign-on for the main school network, so people will be able to access their normal work wherever they are.
They weren't sponsored by HP then?
I don't think it was so much a sponsorship as a please buy our stuff. But yeah, this is what it looks like, and all that money has gone to Steve Jobs. So
they have an amazing educational discount again though.
Yeah.
People have a really amazing educational discount because, I don't know, because they get bulk contracts, I suppose, so buying all of those Macs is good practice, so they do offer like massive discounts.
yeah, and this is my own understanding of this, and I'd just like to say for anyone watching on the internet that this is how it's perceived by me, is that a while ago an iPad was either given or bought at a considerably reduced price by Apple in order to see whether it would or wouldn't help members of staff with whatever scheduling or lesson plans or anything that they might do themselves. And obviously that helped us think, ooh, how else can we incorporate this phenomenon? And I think that should be it. Yeah, that's the end. That's about everything that's really going at school at the